Finding humor in economics. I actually Googled it 4 or 5 times trying to find something funny about economics, and I had a tough time, and then I stumbled onto this. And Kevin went hunting last week. Does everyone know that?
For what?
You know, with the gun, like Wally used to do.
You go to the mall.
3 economists went out hunting. They came across a large deer. The first economist fired but missed a yard to the left. The second economist fired and he missed a yard to the right. And the third economist said, "We got it!" Think about it. We're going to talk, no, actually I'll be doing the talking. We're going to talk about the national perspective of the economy, the state perspective, kind of what's up ahead of us, and then drill down to Pierce County. This shouldn't take more than a couple hours. Here we go. Last year I told you officially the recession is over. A recession is defined by a certain number of quarters of negative growth, and if everyone can recall, 2007, 8, and into 9 were, I mean, if it was painful, you can forgive yourself for feeling the pain when you look at this graph. We've been in positive growth, and we're forecasted for positive growth on the national scene. Last year I mentioned that I said the recession's over, it might not feel like it. I think it's actually starting to feel like it. So through this improving economy, one of the things we want to keep an eye on is consumer sentiment. Consumer sentiment has a big impact on the decision to step out and make a commitment for a mortgage, to move your home, to move your family. And 2 of the biggest factors in consumer sentiment are unemployment and gas prices. So speaking to unemployment, here's a graph of major markets across the United States. The top of each bar represents the peak of the unemployment picture. The blue is, the red's where it's at now, so the blue is the improvement. And so what we see is that across the board in these major markets, unemployment is improving. We got a long ways to go. We have like 6.6 million jobs that were lost, or from the peak, we have to still replace 6.5 million jobs. The forecast for 2012 is an unemployment of 8.7, 2013, 8.3, 7.7, 7.1. It's just this slow but steady improvement that's being forecast. And these forecasts I got from a lot of different sources, but in particular, Arun Raha's chairman of the Economic and Revenue Forecast Council. Highly recommend it for some very riveting reading if anyone wants to pursue that. But they quote what's called the blue chip. I have to look at it. It's a blue chip forecast. It's the top 150 economists in the United States, and they do an aggregate, and so that's where some of these numbers come from. In regards to gas prices, the NYMEX futures, blah, 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 a 9% range between now and 2015. That's the bottom line. There's no giant spikes in gas prices that they're proposing, and that's the second big factor on consumer sentiment. So unemployment improving, gas prices should be reasonably stable. There's lots of other things that play in, but those are the 2 biggies. On housing, this is one of, who saw Steve Harney at the kickoff? Great presentation. This is one of his slides that he let me borrow. This is months of inventory nationally, and it's declining. That will hit the press. That will improve consumer sentiment as well. Here is transaction velocity nationally. And I love this stat. Does everyone know what the number 12,109 is?
Number of homes sold a day.
Thank you. Number of homes sold yesterday, 12,109. It's a great number. It's a great number to know. 8,718 purchase mortgages issued yesterday. Exciting. It is exciting. This is the state. So state GDP, okay, the state can have a recession or be in a growth economy despite the nation. Typically they're in tandem. But again, quoting those blue chip forecasts, GDP should grow at 2.2 in 2012 and 2.8, is that what that says? 6 in 2013. As far as the job market goes, okay, right, we're worried about unemployment because it affects consumer sentiment. The real positives are aerospace. Boeing's hiring at a pretty good clip. Software, Microsoft, and the spin-offs from that. Exports are strong. I had a quote on exports. Third quarter, well, Boeing has a 7-year backlog. I think most people know that. Exports were 35% up third quarter of last year. So this is very, very good. The global economy, we're affected by that. Anyway, construction jobs are still weak. State and local government jobs still weak, and I'm not sure that's a bad thing. Let's see, moving into Pierce County from the state. This is the Pierce County Economic Index. It's produced every year by Professors Goodman and Mann. I've used it in all my presentations. These guys do a really extensive amount of research every year on the Pierce County economy and present it to the Chamber of Commerce at the beginning of every year. And what they're saying is at the end of 2012, Pierce County economy will have had 11 consecutive quarters of growth. So I guess it's not rocket science, that's a good thing. We're growing, and again, that will aid the slow but steady job recovery, and we can look forward to improving housing market. Here's unemployment projections for Pierce County. They kind of said the same thing last year. They said we're going to peak in the first quarter, and then we'll end up by the end of the year at 8.0. And they weren't right. So this is what they say this year. Hopefully they're right. Part of my message today is we can gather these statistics, but how we communicate that to our prospective clients and our sphere of influence, I think is important. And I think it's a conversation that needs to go beyond this meeting. Harney touched on it. It's our responsibility to know this stuff, to know what's going on, because who else is going to be better at getting the message out so that people will want to buy homes? And so I guess the question is, does your conversation inspire confidence? Does your conversation make people feel good? Not rah-rah, but good in a fundamental way about moving forward with a home transaction. What Harney said was, in a class that I took after the kickoff, it isn't the number of people you talk to, but it's the depth of the conversation. So I like that. So here's a way to talk about a market cycle. Market cycles are completely predictable, right? When you start out, things are going up and you're very optimistic. And at the peak, it's euphoria. Everybody's got to buy that stock or that house. Multiple offers. And then when it starts sliding, there's fear because we don't know how far it's going to slide. We don't know what's going to happen next. And we're in the bottom, it's depression. And we can all identify with that. So, and then it starts all over, but it's a very predictable market cycle. Sometimes the snake is bigger, sometimes the snake is smaller, but it's economics. So, the top is the highest point of risk, the bottom is the maximum opportunity, and I will present to you the idea that through 2000 and 2005, or really 6 here in Pierce County, this is a national graph, we peaked, we became very afraid, but this is where we are now, okay, and this is where we're going. And I really wanted to say that last year, but I knew it wasn't true. Everything I'm reading now says this is the message we can take out there. That's exciting. I love that graph. Okay, here's the state of our inventory in Pierce County. We have currently 38% of our inventory is distressed. In the last 6 months, 51% of our sales are distressed, either short or REO. Okay, the sales ratio for shorts, 7%, REOs, 52%, and regular inventory, 11%. I don't know if you can read from the back. What's exciting here is we have 1.92 months worth of inventory in REOs. We have 6 months of inventory of just regular market sales. That's pretty stable. You know, I'd like 5 better than 6, but I like 6 better than 7. And 14 months worth of shorts. The shorts are still, and probably never will, clear at a fast pace. There's just too many moving parts behind the curtain, right? What's that?
It takes 14 months to close them, so it's okay.
It takes 14 months to close one. That's exactly right. So some interesting stats here on bank home. You know, the theory is that, again, with what I'm reading, kind of getting into projections and stuff, is we'll still slide in price. I guess I've got a graph for that. Imagine that. We'll come back to that. Does anyone know what this number is?
350.
Thank you. Moving on. 350 is the number of homes that sold in Pierce County last week. That's a great number. Get yours. How about this number? 21%. Yeah, I'm not going to give you the chance. 21% is the amount of increase in the absorption rate, 1231.10 versus 1231.11. That's an exciting stat. What if we communicated this? When asked the question, that is now a good time to buy, between 80 and 83% of 24 to 35-year-olds, basically, 80 to 83% said, yes, now is a good time to buy. Did you know 5.9 million 25 to 34-year-olds live with their parents?
Is that just in Pierce County? Or?
Thank you, Greg. I can always count on you. Perfect. So these guys are going to need a housing unit. They might need a housing unit that's a rental that one of your investors bought. They might need to buy their first house, but they're going to need a housing unit. The parents are going to give them the boot as soon as they think the coast is clear. So this is a great number to know.